What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for September 27th, 2021. The Citizencon details have finally been announced, so we'll go through those. We had a small roadmap update and a sprint report, and finally, 3.15 is now in testing. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news and put it into one video and throw my opinions in there as well. Also, I live stream every day but Monday on twitch.tv/SaltEMike. So if you want to stop by, say hello, hang out, that would be the place to do it. We do have a lot to get through this week, so I want to start out with patch notes updates. 3.15 is an Evo. No clue in sight when that will be out of the NDA testing, though, and in Wave 1. My assumption would be that it's after Citizencon sometime, because anybody who is probably going to be working on some features for Citizencon are probably some of the people that need to help out with 3.15, right? Speaking of Citizencon, let's talk about that. We finally had some details, and let's say, first and foremost, Citizencon is meant to be a celebration of the game. It's meant to be a celebration of the community. But I think the details you're probably looking for are like, what are the panels? What are they going to talk about? What are we going to see? What are they going to show? So they start out with Chris Roberts, like they always do, but it does not appear to be any sort of keynote. Some people from my community said that they even mentioned that they would not be doing one. I don't remember this, but yeah, leave a comment below and maybe link to when they said that. I have no idea. Next is the Life in the Verse panel. This is interesting. The details say it's the biggest panel and it's a guided tour of the current game universe. So this has to mean more than just Stanton. It could be like Odin, it could be Nyx, it could be Pyro, it could be just Stanton and what they might be changing there. It's hard to say what that one's going to be. They seem to be really excited. They said it's the biggest one in the description as well, so who knows. The standard ship talk panel, of course, has to be there. They'll obviously be revealing some ships. They've also mentioned updates on a fan favorite vessel. Anyone have any guesses? I certainly have mine. I think it would probably be the Banu Merchantman, but who knows? Gen 12 and the multi-core of Vulcan. So I think most of you out there are obviously dealing with performance issues. If you want to get some solid updates on what they are doing to fix them, and the progress of where this is, this will be the panel for you, but I imagine it's going to be quite technical. So as far as like entertainment value goes, I'm doubting it here. Crafting worlds, planetary tools and tech. I'm sure this will be very much like the 2019 demo. They will share some things with us, but I want you guys to take one note here about the panel members. Marco Corbetta. He has spoken mostly publicly. Well, he has mostly spoken publicly, like when we see him, it's usually about NPCs and AI. So for me, my guess is they would likely be covering the tech to allow NPC AI to play on moons and planets with us like we do, which would actually be a very monumental change to Star Citizen. You know, it sounds like something so simple and something that should, you know, is in every game that we probably play that is multiplayer, right? But for Star Citizen, it's been a real hill to climb to get this to happen. And I have a feeling like that's what this is going to be about. Probably the one that caught our eye the most, though, is server meshing and the state of persistence. I'm sure also that this will be very technical, but I think most of the backers just want it in the game, want to feel what it's like to be in a server meshed environment, to have more players playing in a server. I'm just also numb to the talks about this at this point. It was the highlight of conversation at 2019 Citizencon. What happened? You know, I think if we thought that we would be here when we were watching the 2019 Citizencon, if we really thought that these were going to be the panels in 2021, I think most of you would have said you're crazy. Sounds of Space, I think we pretty much get what this one sounds like. Get it? Systematic gameplay, stream of thought. This is one of the only panels that I personally care about. It seems like the panel for all things that if you want to play Star Citizen, this is what's going to be in there. Selling, inventory, reputation, combined missions with that reputation, and cargo are all topics in this one. So that is 2021 Citizencon. It is not obviously a con this time, and it's just basically an extended ISC or You guys remember the like patch updates? What were they called? I can't even remember. Where they like the guys were sitting around the round table. It was like a round table discussion with devs. I feel like it's just going to be a number of those with some B-roll and stuff. But hey, more information the better, right? Moving on to roadmap updates, we have a short one this week. Citizencon's closing in. 3.15 should be coming soon, we hope, so I don't expect impactful roadmap updates for a while. Committed to release view, they committed rest stop space station clinics. I think this was really important. We should be able to spawn at these and deal with most injuries here, just not the most major ones. And depending on the frequency of major injuries, this might not be that big of an issue. So we don't have to land at major landing zones that often. Speaking of that, Horison and New Babbage hospitals are also committed. So this gives us the guarantee that we'll have the full Tier 0 medical gameplay in 3.15. And I'm really looking forward to that. So things that were temporarily removed from the roadmap, though. Outpost Homestead, Independent, and Outlaw. I have no idea when they'll release these now. I assumed it was naturally going to come with Pyro, so I assumed it naturally had a location on the roadmap. Given that, maybe they released them earlier. This could also mean that Pyro and meshing may not be doing well, or doing really well. I think a lot of what we hear at Citizencon will determine why this was temporarily removed. I could be reading way too much into this, but it seems natural to just deliver these with Pyro. So, moving on to video updates, we had an ISC that was an all sprint report edition. So they start out with locked crates. This seems like it's for missions, but I would love for us to have these for ourselves and be able to lock things that we find important on our ships, so people who are, you know, trying to be unlawful may have a little bit of a harder time getting our stuff. Proximity mines, more looks at that. We've seen them for a little while now. The big test they showed was the crates' reactions to the explosions. They're very high health now, by the way, so they usually would get damaged or explode themselves, is kind of what they implied. The ASOP terminals are being swapped to building blocks. This should help fix a lot of bugs, and it will run faster. Mining gadgets are next. This seems like you play with the settings and it breaks big rocks. Really looking forward to these. The more I looked into it, it was just like basically a copy and paste version of the subcomponents that go on the mining laser. It's just really low effort, and I'm pretty disappointed with those, I'm not gonna lie. Branded uniforms, they want to be modular and easily swapped for other shops and stuff, so, you know, just the usual Star Citizen, let's make things as easy on ourselves as possible, because we made things impossible in the early days of Star Citizen's development, so now everything has to be tools and tools and tools to make things simpler. The next is Theta Geo. We've heard about this before. I think they mentioned it at 2019 Citizencon, actually, where if you use all the same armor types, you may get additional flair if you pair up the right things together. The armor shown here will have details at Citizencon, and the digital Citizencon page, which I imagine will get updated today, Monday, or sometime throughout the week. We'll talk more about that later, though. Intoxication, they are applying inputs to make it harder to fly. So if you drink too much or have high blood drug toxicity from taking too many meds, it'll be very difficult to fly effectively. Ships like the Ares Starfighter were shown again and again and again. Redeemer, they're starting to show some glow shader thing, as well as a lot of the internals, including some crazy looking motion inside, which probably isn't going to make it in, is what they implied here, because they think it looks weird. Drake, Vulture, Greybox, I think it's looking really good. I am so excited for this ship. I just hope Salvage delivers, right? That's the Drake Vulture, not that big of a deal to me. Salvage, though, is it going to be fun? White box of the Hull A, it's just beginning. It needed to be revised because the metrics were completely off, so we need to be able to move in and out of the ship. Hull C is also back, mostly just bringing it back to the standards of the ships today. Externally, they changed the materials. I'm not going to lie, I always liked the way the metal looked on the original Freelancers, but that's just me. And internals are getting an update as well, obviously. Lastly, Port Olisar is moving. Not being updated, though, it seems. It's just being moved. It's the only station that doesn't act like the others around the major landing zones, where it's right above them. So it's just going to be like Everus and Tressler and all the others in 3.15. SCL, there's some detail on Regeneration and Star Citizen gangs of Pyro discussion. I'm not going to talk about Star Citizen Live much today, because I think they did a really good job explaining it in a lore post. So we're going to move on to other updates, and we're going to start out with that lore post. They did one on Regeneration, which is they don't want to use the word cloning because, yeah, so it just doesn't sound right for how it actually works. So, because they made a game where there are too many scenarios that can lead to permadeath, as described in the original post, they needed to do this regeneration / cloning type thing. They said because new players wouldn't understand it and it would be too punishing for them. But for the amount of people who cried about their favorite ship not winning a poll, I think a lot of people in this community wouldn't understand permadeath and the punishments that CIG originally planned for Star Citizen. And I think a lot of people really wanted those punishments, but I think they're probably going the right direction here for the overall health of the game. Next, they shared what their needs are for the system. So the last one for me is the most important. It can't be cloning. It has to be called something else. So they call it regeneration, because cloning would imply that there would be like 30 of us walking around, and nobody wants 30 SaltEMikes walking around. So it's you regenerate your own body when it dies. There's no extra versions of you flying around. And then the rest of the post is simply the lore, and they made up for it. You know, they made it up to make sense in the Star Citizen world. So then we move on to an interesting post on Xenothreat statistics. I personally had a lot of fun with Xenothreat. I'm assuming a lot of you guys did. And there was a post that shared a lot of statistics about it. So first off, the sheer number of times the event went off and the number of participants is way higher than I would have ever expected. I wonder how this compares to a normal week in Star Citizen the last few months, to be honest, right? I think the other most important stat is the weapon types used. They're all lasers. All lasers. And this tells me why I think ship combat is really improved. The weapon balance is probably far from it. Every laser repeater's on that list. So the balance and use cases of the other weapons besides laser repeaters in Star Citizen could probably use a little bit of an update and a look at from the vehicle experience team. And we'll have to see. Maybe we see that in 3.15. Ship Showdown, the Argo one. I really don't have much more on this. We've beaten this subject to death. The Star Citizen community embarrassed itself. And what's new? Then we had a sneak peek. I mean, we've really been seeing this for a while, so the Ares Starfighter is hardly a sneak peek, but I'm personally excited about the ship. And then lastly, subscriber flare. The hits keep coming on the subscriber flare, guys. Someone brought this up in my live stream this week. The old hangar flare was like so high effort and sick, and there was lore behind it. And now we get t-shirts and like really low effort stuff. But the thing is, for me, I'd rather whoever is working on this stuff to be making things that I can loot in game that are rare and useful. Wouldn't that be neat? Like, I don't really care that the sub flare is not that exciting and high effort anymore. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Are you guys still subscribed? Like, huge content creators that have been subscribed forever are dropping. It's the subscriber program. People are disappointed in it. It's whatever to me. It's another way to support the project and get a few little tidbits while you go. I don't put much effort into the subscriber flare and what it is, but I do agree it's been a lot more low effort than it was in the beginning. And that'll do it with this week's video, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I am really, really excited for the coming weeks and Citizencon, and oh man, the weekend review after Citizencon is going to be a doozy. So thank you so much for watching again, guys. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe down below. Consider clicking that join button and becoming a member and supporting the channel financially. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week. I said thank you so much for watching like 3 times, so I really appreciate it, guys.